I always made the comment that once a miller, always a miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good heavens, he's done it again! Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello, and welcome back to New York Talk, the Rotherham United podcast. And we're going to win, an actual away win to talk about. Rotherham United won away from home. We're going to talk about it and be positive. I'm being positive anyway. We are going to talk through that game. We've got another game to talk about, Reading. So a good chance for us to throw away any positivity in a couple of days' time, which we'll try and do. Mick's with us, just me and Mick to start with. How are we, Mick?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I've got somebody sat over here pointing at me with a big stick that if I say anything negative at all, I'm going to get poked and punched around the back of the head. So I'm going to be positive tonight.
It won't last. It won't last. Yeah, the away win. I put a list of things together that's happened since we last won an away game. We've had a men's World Cup, a women's World Cup, a European Championships and Olympic Games. We've changed Prime Minister. King Charles was coronated. Watford have gone through 4 different managers. Twitter back then was still called Twitter. Twitter's changed its name since then. There's been 211 episodes of New York Talk since then. And we got nominated as well. So this is a chance to plug. Vote for New York Talk at the Football Content Awards. Just seamless, you see. So yeah, a lot has happened in the almost 2 years. We're going to talk about that. Wood says this winning streak starts now. John Henry says, good evening, everybody. Can we have some positivity tonight, please? Martin Holland says, good evening, everybody. Great away win at last. Terry Fimmer says, evening all. Would you have Adam and Eve? Paula Rhodes, evening, an away win and a clean sheet. Scrappy, but who cares? A win is a win. Kelly Fobbs, thank goodness for Nombi's butt cheeks. Damien Dunkley is with us, as is Cheryl Stunners, loads with us. So far as you'd expect with the first away win, you'd expect people to be with us tonight. So thank you all that are. Yeah, Mick, one of the worst goals I've ever seen. We were talking about before we started recording that we didn't go, we watched it from home. And when it happened, I didn't even jump up and celebrate to start with because it just felt so clumsy and weird and odd that, oh, there's something wrong with that. It's offside or it's a foul or something. It took a minute for me to kind of, oh, even the commentator on Sky went, is there a flag to save Cambridge? Because even he was confused about it.
Yeah.
Not the exciting way to break the duck, but the duck has been broke nevertheless.
I mean, it's not. We're not going to be able to call it a screamer, are we? I mean, let's be fair. Yeah, I was the same as you. I just sort of sat there waiting for something to happen after I saw it trickle into the back of net, whether it be a flag or a foul or whatever. It kind of sums up the whole of this period, the whole of those 211 episodes of New York Talk that you've just alluded to there. That goal and the quality of the goal kind of sums it up, really, doesn't it? Yeah. But it's huge. It's huge for us because it just breaks that duck and it's a monkey off our back, and we can start to look forward now. I guess I'm trying not to get poked. I'm trying to be positive. Yeah, it's a monkey off our back, innit? It's over. It's over. That stupid, horrible record is gone, and we can start again and start afresh. So, positive. It is a positive. Got to be. Any wins are positive. Any away wins, a bigger positive. So, yeah. Well,
we're not going to sit here and pretend it was a great game and a great performance. We're going to kind of dissect the performance a little bit because we're not happy clappers. But also we're not just negative for the sake of negative. This is a game that has a lot of positives. It's a game that has a lot of negatives. But we'll go through that. We'll go through it. Tom Kay said, I think how many times have we said this in the podcast, mate? The old saying of an ugly 1-0 with a goal off someone's backside came true. We must have said that 20, 30 times over this almost 2-year period. That's all we need. We just need that goal off somebody's backside. And I know it wasn't a very good goal, but I am chuffing Nombe because I think he's deserved the goal. He didn't earn it in that sense, but he's earned it by his performances this season, I think.
He's earned it by his performances and his attitude as well, because I don't think he's been treated particularly well, given the amount of graft that he puts in a game and the influence he can have on a game, albeit not by scoring. So I think it's good for him, and hopefully it'll give him you can't say it's going to give him some confidence to kick on. He came off his backside while he was laid flat on his face, in it. So it's not like he's sort of made a massive effort to, but he made the effort to get there. Was going to be on the end of that ball no matter what. Had he not been tripped up, he would probably still have scored because he was making that run across the back of the defenders, and it clearly wasn't offside. So I think he would have banged it away anyway. Because it was a decent cross in. He just happened to get tripped, and I think somebody's mentioned in the comments there it probably would have been a penalty had it not gone in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good for him, and hopefully, given his amazing finishing skills there, that might get him a place in the starting 11 on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It got ruined by the fist pumps, didn't it? I was sat there enjoying. I'm really happy. And oh no, he's going to do the fist pumps. No, he's going to ruin it. I still don't like them. Even in that kind of it's still not my kind of thing. The fans there will love it, and I'm sure people in the comments will tell me they love it, but I'm still just cringing a bit every time. I saw Ravel do it for Stevenage. It's just horrible. I just don't like it.
No, I don't either. I can't. They're into certain circumstances. Winning at Wembley, still, it just doesn't. It's not for me. It's not for me. But some people like it, so let them get on with it. But I don't like it, and given the circumstances of that game, I don't think it was necessary. But anyway, whatever. Each to their own. Yeah. Like you said, some of the crowd obviously got involved with it and they enjoyed it, and other clubs. Well, like you said, when Ravel did it at Stevenage the other night against Wrexham. I guess their fans take part in it as well. So some people do like it. Maybe that's just us that are out of touch with the modern football supporter, perhaps.
Maybe that wouldn't surprise me.
Not an ideal job to be in doing football podcasts if we are, but there you go.
It makes you wonder why they've nominated us for this award. To be honest with you,
that is true. Actually, yeah, good point.
But it is, it links in the. I think links to the comment in the show notes, so check that out, everybody. Make sure you voted. We're going to keep doing that. It closes next Sunday, so you've only got like 10 more days for us to bother you with that. So get on with that. We'll talk about the game specifically in a minute, Mick. But in the context of the season, in the context of Steve Evans's kind of job almost, and in the context of us as fans, that win's huge, isn't it? The monkey off the back, the context of breaking that run, context of going now 2 games unbeaten and coming back home. It's a huge win. Forget about the performance. The win itself, for me, feels mad. It's not season defining, but it could help turn the season around.
Yeah, I mean, these are the sort of results, the sort of games, the sort of goals that I have in the past turned seasons around. Scrappy, horrible, dour, dreary games where the only goal of the game in the 97th minute of 95, of 5 minutes injury time, goes in off somebody's backside or the back of the head or whatever. Those are the games that can turn your season, because it kind of turns your luck a little bit, or you would hope that it does. I am positive. Sorry, I am definitely positive. So yeah, it could be, or it could be one of those things that contributes to that. So you've got to be. It's an away win, mate. It's an away win, and we haven't had one for so long that I forgot to celebrate when it went in, because I just assumed that we would still lose.
Yeah. They did have that free kick straight after. Oh my God, they're going to score straight away, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think we're doing. John Henry says it could be season defining. You look at the. I know we go back to this quite a lot, but I think it's important. The Blackpool goal against when Paul Warren was first season in charge, the David Ball, the turnaround when David Ball got 2 goals in 10 minutes, whatever it was. In the end, that was season defining because if we didn't win that game, Paul Warren might have lost his job a couple of games later. This could not be. We're not trying to leg it, but this is. If Steve Evans is as good a manager as he thinks he is, he should be able to harness the positivity, which I assume the players will feel, and then be able to kick on, which is what Paul Warren was able to do. He was able to turn it around and kind of harness it to move forward. It's all ifs and buts. And Saturday's a big game. We'll talk about Saturday in a minute, but Saturday's a big, big game because of the win. Had we not won, it'd have been a big game. Because we've won, it's a big, big game. But yeah, Danny is with us. How is Danny and how is Danny's internet connection?
I'm not risking the camera tonight, lads. I apologise for my tardiness, but work was work. But we're here. We've got 3 points for a nice change, and I think it's a fairly happy Thursday. I think
I'm happy. I'm just waiting for one of you two to kind of start digging in and trying to bring my mood down a little bit because I'm not buzzing about the performance, obviously, because it was garbage. But I'm buzzing that we've got that win. And how's the mood, Danny, in terms of Rotherham United?
Well, give it 25 minutes and we'll see. But in terms of the amount of points it's given us, I'm very happy about it. I'm very happy we've got 3 points. I'm very happy that we've won our second game of the season. I just wish the performance for the 90 minutes beforehand was a lot better. In terms of winning the game itself, I'm happy about it. In terms of the performance itself, I'm not very happy about it. So it's a very weird oxymoron, to be fair, if I'm honest.
You can't have everything. You want good performance and a good win. That don't happen, Danny. I don't know what world you're on. You can't have everything.
I mean
how many times have we played brilliantly?
3 years ago, but okay.
How many times have we played well and lost or drawn away from home in the last 693 days? That's happened quite a lot. So it's nice to turn it on its head.
Yeah, but I suppose I'm used to us playing well in League One and winning football matches, not playing like that in League One. But, you win some, you lose some. And this time we've won one. Well, hey.
We've won one. We've won away from home. Evening All says, John, I'm expecting an uber positive Mick tonight, considering Mick had hair the last time. I didn't add that to my list, Mick having hair last time we won. I should have done.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point, yeah.
Richard says, worst performance in many years, but it's a win. Right, Miller said, let's go with this. So, sorry, I don't agree that a result like this will turn the season around. How? A fortunate win against a desperate Cambridge side, grasping at straws here, I'm afraid. Again, I'll go back to that Blackpool game. We were not good at that Blackpool game. I think the first 40 minutes, Johnson Clark Harris played and was pulled off at half time, and things looked desperate for Paul Warren and kind of our season at that time. We weren't playing very well at that time. But we were able to turn it around and able to get 3 points on the board and able to get that positivity around the fans and around the place. Not saying that's going to happen. I'm not saying the exact same thing's going to happen. But the ingredients are there. The same ingredients are there that were for me in the same situation. So it's now down to Steve Evans. What can he do? What can he do going forward? Let's stick with some positives from the game, though, Mick. In terms of performance, there weren't very many. But Cameron Dawson is one of the positives that can come out of that game. Us fans kind of feel vindicated again, as we have done over recent games. We've all been calling for Cam Dawson to get a go, and that double save, both as good as he was. The first save is really, really good because he's had to come back on himself from Cameron Mumfrey's poor something, and then their striker as well. That's a great instinct to get down there as well. That's another reason we've got 3 points because Cam Dawson has been able to make that double save.
Yeah, it was phenomenal save. The second one was phenomenal. Brave, down at the player's feet, right at the near post, very, very close in. He was always going to get that ball blasted at him, and it was a phenomenal save. The first one, I think, looking back at it, I think Cam Humphreys slips. I think he's trying to put the ball wide and he slips and he's just going into the bottom corner. So it's like you say, Dawson's had to readjust and he's saved it well. Unfortunately, into the path of the onrushing striker, but he's got down at his feet again. Really brave, really good goalkeeping. So yeah, that's very positive. And to be fair, with the exception of that, and maybe the one he tipped over in the first half, which I think probably was rising above the bar anyway, but he didn't have a great deal to do. But what he did, he looked assured. So yeah, it's a good start for him, and he's got the place now. It's his shirt to lose. You know, he has to be the number one choice for the time being, until it all goes wrong. If it goes wrong, and it's not forced to, because he's a quality keeper with a lot of experience. As is Phillips, he's an experienced keeper. I just don't think he's got the quality. But anyway, that's not really relevant at the moment, is it? And in relation to this game, I thought he played really well. What he had to do, which wasn't a great deal.
No, no. Yeah, I agree. Nick's is also how many times Dawson went short when possible, whereas Phillips goes long a lot. Mike says Dawson's display should at least end the futile debate of who's number one. To most of us, Phillips is average keeper who isn't good enough for number one, he says. I think that's I'm not going to distribution, because I think his kicking's not great. I don't think Dawson, Danny, but Cam Dawson is always looking for that quick restart. He's always looking for that ball out to Reece James or whoever it may be. Whereas Dylan Phillips doesn't do that. We were able to, again, the attacks, that's not Cam Dawson's fault that the attacks don't build from anywhere. But to get an early start from the keeper is really, really good. And it's something I want to see as being more active, being more positive. And that starts with the goalkeeper, which Dawson's trying to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dawson's willingness to get the ball distributed quickly is a hell of a lot better than Phillips. Phillips seems to keep hold of the ball a little bit too long and then decide to go long, and then it just turns over possession, whereas Dawson, plays it short. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as playing out from the back, because, we all dislike that style of football. But Dawson gets the ball moving, he gets it back in play, he gets the team going forwards in the sense of, not titting about with it round the back four. He'll play it to the back four and then it's in midfield straight away. And it almost feels like we've been missing that in terms of bringing the midfield into the game. Like, don't get me wrong, at times against Cambridge, the midfield was non-existent, but when Dawson distributed the ball out, it felt like we had actual options for passing the ball rather than playing it long and hoping it went to a red shirt. So not to put too much pressure on Dawson's shoulders, but it feels like that may have been the distribution key we were waiting for. That distribution to the midfield or to the defence, get the ball on the floor, get it moving, and not have it above shoulder height all the time. And if he can keep on doing that and is, almost Victor-esque shot-stopping ability, maybe we might push on a little bit. But I do agree with Mike. It ends the debate as who's his number one goalkeeper. I don't think Phillips comes in unless Dawson's injured now.
Yeah, we've got a cup game on Tuesday against Newcastle, I think. So Phillips will get his chance. He'll get his chance to come in and impress, and like Dawson did for the cup games early on in the season. So yeah, we will see how he goes, kind of thing. John Hensby agrees with you. Mick Dawson's better. Adam Firth says I think if we had Victor, Phillips, and Vickers, Phillips will be third choice, whereas Dawson would at least challenge for the backup keeper. Definitely prefers Dawson. He seemed more confident. Mark Gamble says, evening chaps, great result, not such a great performance, still quite troubling. By Steve Evans a while longer, I think, but serious questions need to be answered. Right, I've tried to be positive as much as I can, but you're all dragging me down, so let's get on with it. The performance itself, Mick, a real shocking, and not from just us. I mean, I think Cambridge were marginally the better team, but it was two terrible teams playing terrible football in pretty terrible conditions in terms of a very slippery pitch. Had we not got that goal in the 91st minute, this would be the most negative show we've done in a long time. Steve Evans was very, very lucky that Nombe did what he did and slipped in the way that he did, because there should be still serious questions asked, because that was a terrible performance.
It was as bad as I've seen in as long as I can remember, to be perfectly honest. Tactically, it was just awful. I'm going to get poked. It was awful from both teams, but they seemed to have a little bit more of an idea as to what they wanted to do than we did.
They were a bit more organised, I thought.
They were, yeah. It was just launch it long. We'll go short a couple of times. Nobody's coming to ball to receive the ball from Reece James or whoever it's thrown out to, so it goes long again. There's nobody up front to win it. The number of times I looked away from the screen and then I turned around. Well, we're in possession and turned around to see it trickling towards their goalkeeper was just, there were so many. So it was dreadful. Like there's no dressing it up at all. It was way beyond poor, and we got away with it. We got away with it thanks to Sam Nombe's backside. And that's why I think when we said earlier on, and Mike picked up on it, saying you can't say that this will be season defining. We're not saying it will be. It could be, because the performance was so bad, and we still managed to get 3 points out of it.
Yeah,
I don't know where I'm going to go from there. Genuinely, I don't. But you've got to hope that there is. So tactically, it was awful.
Yeah, I mean, it sums it up for me, Danny, with the striking situation. Matt Milk, can anyone explain the split strikers of Wilkes and Clark Harris? What was that about? Yeah, we talked about this group chat, and we put a 4-2-3-1-ish formation out, that kind of formation, and he still managed to kind of mess that up by putting Malik Wilkes as the lead striker and Johnson Clark Harris as some sort of weird 10-ish role. It was bizarre, and again, Johnson Clark Harris should not be starting football games at the minute. He was useless, sadly. And Malik Wilkes weren't much better. I think Malik Wilkes, you could see what he was trying to do, Malik Wilkes, but he still wasn't effective. We had nothing up front, and Nombe sat on bench doing nothing. It blew my mind a little bit that Malik Wilkes was so far forward.
Yeah, it's right. I mean, I've said on a few podcasts before this one, the formation that seems to suit us best is 4-2-3-1. And the moment we play it, it's wrong. It should be Wilkes either on the flank and Nombe in the middle, or at least Wilkes in the middle behind the striker if Nombe is to be benched. But he got it the wrong way round, which is like, what? But I'm a non-professional, I can't really comment on it, can I? But we saw from Clark Harris that he isn't 100%, and Evans has said himself he won't play players unless they're 100% fit. So why are we playing Clark Harris all the time? And it's those, how do I describe it? Those instances of going back on his word that just trouble me a little bit. And the game, in my opinion at least, improved when we took Clark Harris off and and we switched it round a little bit. And Nombe came on and does what he does best. He runs around the back line, causes them problems, doesn't quite get the ball enough yet, but found himself in a position, and the goal, in my opinion at least, if it's not a goal, it's a penalty, in my opinion. But he gets something on it, whether it's his arse or his elbow, it's still up for debate, but it goes in and it counts, and happy days. But if we use 4-2-3-1 correctly, we can cause teams all sorts of problems. It's just that it's not being used correctly, and we aren't using wingers correctly either. How can we use wingers and not correctly? How can we use wingers and not get the ball wide? Like you said in the group chat, Matt, earlier, before the game, it looked like we had width, but at the same time, watching the game, it didn't feel like we had width. It felt like we went too narrow when it came to the final third. But if we used width and going out wide, and we could have utilised Bramall more or Hungbo more, don't get me wrong, they're not the best crosses in the world, but at least it causes them problems getting the ball into the box, which, funnily enough, Clark Harris or Hugill can feed off a bit more. And I think that's why Clark Harris was ineffective, because we still didn't get balls into the box enough. We didn't play it wide enough. We still went centrally too much, and we turned over possession too much. But like Mike says earlier, it doesn't feel like a season-defining win in the sense of what Blackpool was. It feels like a season-defining moment in the sense of we can actually play poorly and win a game. We need to kick on from here. We can't be complacent now. We need to look at this result and go, yeah, we were crap, but we need to kick on from it. And I hope we kick on against Reading, because Reading are in a fair bit of form at the minute. So if we kick on against Reading and get, even if we play well and get a draw, I will admit I'm happy. But unfortunately, we have to beat Reading if we're going to kick on from this moment. If we can't beat Reading at home and get back-to-back wins, Lord knows what's going to happen. But just utilise 4-2-3-1 correctly, please. Please, I beg, please. Use your wingers, bloody hell.
Surfer says, is it in his contract? I think this is referring to Clark Harris, same as Hugo and Taylor.
Possibly.
Possibly, it wouldn't surprise me, but it just makes us so ineffective up front, doesn't it? It just nullifies us. You nullify yourself, and I don't really get it. I also think, Mick, you've got Malik Wilkes as a winger playing up front, so we bring his left back to the left winger in Cohen Bramall. Well, Cohen Bramall didn't have a bad game, to be fair to him, but he's still not a winger, and we have a winger who can play in that position playing somewhere else. And when you've got a Song who can come on and do a job up front as well. If you don't play Nomba, you've got a Song who can play there. He did this in his first spell. Connor Salmon on right wing springs to mind. He plays players in really odd places because he wants to play somebody else somewhere else. And it hurts the team. It really, really does hurt the team. He might get it right eventually, but right now, his team selection, by picking Clark Harris and playing Wilkes where he's playing, it's hurting the team.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And Malik Wilkes must be as frustrated as we are. Yeah, because he's not been effective in the game at all for the bulk of it, because he's playing out of position. It's not where he should be playing. And we set the game off with allegedly with wingers, with Cohen Bramall down one side. Well, I thought I'd like to see a bit more of him there. I think he's got the ability to progress in that role. Some of the balls he put in or tried to put in were decent balls had there been anybody in the box to actually get anywhere near him. Which I know he should know that before he's putting it in, but they should be there anyway. There should have been somebody there. I thought Humbo looked strong. I think he looks very, very tricky, and he's an exciting player. You're not sure. He's one of those players that you're not sure what's going to happen when he gets on the ball. That's the kind of player that you want out wide and get the ball out to him, particularly in the second half before he went off. Well, we didn't even bother giving him the ball. We just kept oofing it long, and neither Bramall nor Humbo in that second half, certainly for the first sort of 20 minutes or 30 minutes of the second half, they weren't in the game because we never gave him the ball. Pointless. And then you've got Malik Wilkes playing ahead of Clark Harris, so the long ball is just sailing over the top of Clark Harris's head every time. He hardly won a header because he was playing too deep. I don't know. But without wanting to sound smart and continue to use the phrase that Danny's been using a lot, we're not professionals, so we don't know what we're talking about. But we do have eyes, and we have watched football before, and we have watched matches like this before. Maybe not quite to this level of bad, but we have. Yes, this could be a turning point, but there's a lot of other things got to change as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That has to. You can't continue to play in that fashion. I want it to be. I desperately want it to be. I want to kick on from here. Come on, we can do it. We've got the players to do it. We can kick on. But if we continue doing the same thing, the same result is going to happen. It has happened for all bar 2 of the games this season. We can't win 2 out of every 9 games because that's relegation form. But if you continue to play in the same way, the teams we played have been down the bottom with the exception of Birmingham, realistically, bottom half. So you can't continue this way. If you do, we'll be down the bottom end.
Yeah. Josh Smith says Agard was a striker who ended up on the wing, scored however many goals. Yeah. Yeah, he did. But
it's a different player.
It's different.
It's a different person, isn't it?
Yeah.
He adapted.
Malik Wilks is clearly not a striker. And there's a few people in the comments mentioned about sort of criticising Wilks about being offside all the time. Well, he's going to be. He's going to be in the wrong position all the time because he's not naturally that striker. I think as a 10, it kind of works because he's got that freedom to move left and right a little bit. But as the top end main man striker, it just didn't work at all. I felt really sorry for Malik Wilks because it was trying to impact the game. It was trying to do things, but he just can't do it. He just couldn't get himself into the game. And again, it hurt us. And we can talk about Clark Harris for as long as we want, but we were playing with 10 men when Clark Harris will pitch at times. I don't know what the solution is for Clark Harris other than to not start him. If you're going to play him, I don't know what the solution is to fit him into this team at the minute or to fit him into a team at the minute. He is hurting the team by playing him, and it's really frustrating. Really, really frustrating. But Tom Caird said, I don't think we've led for more than 30 minutes combined this season. The 2 wins were last-minute winners, and we've only led for about 10 minutes against Burton and Charlton. True. What I would say is that it's an interesting stat. I like that, Tom. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, does it? There was Portsmouth a few years ago who were in the promotion places for 34 minutes of the season, and it was the final 34 minutes of the season they went up. If you're getting the results, it doesn't really matter, I suppose. But yeah, late subs though, Danny. They were quite late subs, and this is another frustration of it. He didn't make subs until whatever it was, 70 something, 80th minute. And somebody else mentioned in the comments, I think it might have been Mike again, when Nombe came, it was a breath of fresh air. That was a game we needed to win, really, for Steve Evans himself and the team. I was really shocked that he left it so late to make those changes because it was crying out for changes. No,
it was definitely. I mean, I messaged the group chat at the time and said, have we actually made any changes? Like thinking that I'd missed them, but it was almost a case of who was going to blink first between Steve Evans and Gary Monk in making a change. And if I remember correctly, it was us that blinked first, but only just, I think, by like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But no, you're right. The game was crying out for for a change of pace, but it was weirdly even in the sense of both teams were as bad as each other. So maybe we didn't dare make the change in case it made us worse, and then the other team got a chance going forward. But the game definitely changed when Nombe came on. Nombe had a very positive impact when he came on, and it sort of tilted it in our favour, but only just. And it almost felt like an England versus Slovakia moment with Nombe scoring. Where
slightly less quality.
Yeah, slightly less quality. I mean, you know, you can clip me comparing Sam Nombe to Jude Bellingham, don't get me wrong, but in the sense of we were poor, they were poor, we were equally as poor as each other, and it just took that one flash in the pan and it changed the game completely. And fortunately for us, Nombe's arse was the flash in the pan, and we got the win, and it sort of felt like it was our turn to steal a result. You know, like you could say that Bristol, Burton stole results against us that they drew, but it was our turn to steal a draw. It's just a shame it's not against Birmingham, it's against bottom of the league Cambridge. So yeah, it just felt too late with the subs. You know, it felt like the subs were 10, 15 minutes too late, and we got quite lucky that they had the effect on the game that they did. I think if Nombe was on the pitch longer than he would have had even more impact and would have scored much earlier. We may have even won the game 2-0 potentially. But it felt like we were just like holding off, hoping something would happen. And then the coaching staff just realised, oh, nothing's actually going to happen here. We need to change it, but 15 minutes too late. So it was really, really odd. It's one of the few times I can remember, at least, that neither team has made a sub and it's ticked over to 80 minutes. It just felt so bizarre. Yeah,
they actually made the sub first on the 80th minute, and then we made a double sub on the 81st. I think it was at the same time. It just goes up a minute later.
Okay.
Yeah. Chris T, he must not be fully fit for him not to start, by the way. There must be a fitness issue there. We might get time to talk about Sean McWilliams again and try and find out what he does exactly, but we'll maybe do that in a minute. Mick and Danny want to mention Josh Smith's comment. Remember when the Lord and Saviour Paul Warne played players out of position and lost a lot of his games, were a chore to watch. Some serious Evans hate on this awful podcast. What I would say to that is I can't remember if we did the podcast on the Rochdale game, when Ben Wiles was constantly being played left wing back. Yeah. We were one of the most vocal people around saying that should never happen, Ben Wiles in those positions. So, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, taking away the sarcasm of the Lord and Saviour Paul Warne, who finished left when we were sixth or eighth in Championship. We did say, and I've said subsequently quite a few times, that Paul Warne had reached his level. He'd reached a level where lower end of Championship was as far as he was ever going to go with us as a manager. And he was criticised. He was criticised a lot. As far as the hate towards Steve Evans, there's a big difference between the word hate and the word criticise. We criticise Evans significantly on this podcast. That's all it's about, This is a man who tells us how fantastic he is at his job. And Josh, if you're watching these games and you think the performances are up to scratch in any way, at any point almost throughout this season, then you're watching a different game to me. But it's about opinions, We are critical of him, or I certainly am critical of him. That's not saying I hate him. I don't know the bloke, but I am critical of him because of the way he carries himself, the way he behaves, what he says. But then that does not transfer into the performances on the pitch in any way at any point this season. And that's why we are so critical of him. You cannot stand and put your head above the parapet and tell everybody how good you are and then put in performances like that, which prove that you ain't. So it is, like Richard just put in the comments there, it's all about opinions, and you've got yours, I've got mine, Matt's got his, Danny's got his, and so on and so forth. They're all different. But the bottom line is we're all watching the same football, and none of us, or very few of us, I think it's an acceptable level of performance. And it's down to opinion as to whether you think it's the players that are not up to it, or whether it's the coaching, the management staff that are not up to it. We said, like I started when I said this, we said that Paul Warne had reached his level, that sort of top end of League One, bottom end of Championship level. Steve Evans also has reached his level, probably where we are now. He's peaked above it a few times, he's gone above it, but he's always come back down. But it's opinions. No hate, lots of criticism is what I would say.
No hate. I agree with Mick that everything's opinion based. I mean, Josh has mentioned there he thinks we're an awful podcast, but in my opinion, I think we're amazing because we're up for an award. So make sure you've all voted. Make sure we win the awards. Clearly Josh won't be voting for us; he'll be voting for the Wednesday podcast. But make sure everyone else votes for us. The Content Creator Awards. Thank you very much. So yeah, that's my 2p on the matter. Let's move on.
It's like the third or fourth time we've got that in tonight. This is what we should have been doing all the last few weeks, isn't it? John Hensby says, confidence is a funny old thing in sport, but also in life in general. The win, the goal may just boost everybody's confidence. Because of that, it's imperative we don't go and lose on Saturday. Yeah, we'll do a bit on Reading in a minute. I just want to touch on the post-match from Steve Evans and make this again as split people. I want to pick out a bit that I really, really, really dislike, and also he did it again with that Paul Davis advertiser. I'm not going to criticise what's gone over at this club in the last 2 years. 3 seconds later, but it's been shambolic. Come on, have some professional courtesy. This is not like Matt Taylor and Liam Rishin did this all on purpose, and Steve Evans is digging them out. I just think it's completely unnecessary for him to constantly have digs at the previous management. There's just no need for it at all. I don't like it in one bit. I don't get it either. I don't understand because he's digging out former players almost as well. It's just wrong. I'm fed up with him doing that now.
He's just lashing out, isn't he? He's lashing out. But he's lashing out. He's under pressure. He is under pressure. He's under pressure from some sections of supporters, some not, as most managers are. But I think the pressure on this occasion is possibly getting to him more because of the prevalence of social media and everything else. It's really, really difficult to escape from it. It wasn't when he was here last time around, albeit You know, that criticism was probably still there, but it was in pub beforehand, or on concourse at half time, never to be heard by anybody. So, it's unprofessional, but it is unprofessional. This is not the team that performed poorly or shambolically over the last 2 seasons. This is not that team. It's a different set of players, with the exception of 1 or 2. It's still performing shambolically. So, that's that. Yeah, you can't say that. I'm not. It's better. Things are better off left unsaid than go on and say them. Yeah.
And Shirley makes a good point here. The thing is, who fetched the previous manager? If anybody's to blame, it's Tony Stewart who brought the manager. If it's been shambolic, it's Tony Stewart and Rob Scott's fault for bringing those shambolic people in.
We know that it's a lot more than that. So I thought you were going to ask him about me about his attempts at crying. I
will. Anyway, I'm going to that. Baz has said, and I like Baz's comment, if we win the award, we've got to the fist pumps at the awards.
Get us doing it in front of North Stand. Absolutely. I agree.
Does that mean I'll have to put my fat cheeseburger sign down first?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
I thought you were having that on a t-shirt, mate.
The second part of the interview, Danny, I'm not happy to see him kind of get emotional. I'm obviously not happy with that. But what I am happy was, I felt like it was a rare glimpse into actually Steve Evans. It was a rare bit of honesty from Steve Evans. Mick might not think the same, but I thought the bit where he was talking about how he's struggled recently and how much he's had to lean on his people who support him and motivate him a little bit. I thought that bit was good, and the honesty that I want to see more of, if it was indeed honesty itself, which I took it as him being himself. I don't know what you thought of that second part.
I thought it was a case of it shows how much pressure he is actually under to perform well. Yeah. And because he's not doing that, it is obviously getting to him, because he does want to do well in terms of management and get the club going in the right direction, and he has had to rely on the pillars of support that he has got. But the one negative to that is that if he changed his management style even slightly, we would be in a better position. So he's sort of stuck in one way of doing things, which isn't warranting positive results, and that's led to the emotional side of everything. But I suppose it does highlight that everyone needs those pillars of support, regardless of whatever job that you're in, and it's good that he does have that. It's just, for me, the whole going on to the side of, it feels like it's the worst string of results in his career, which isn't. He's been sacked for better runs of form than this one, which I do have the data to back up as well. If anyone wants to hear it, probably not. But anyway,
no.
But for me, it shows how much that win means in terms of how much pressure he's under, and it's alleviated that pressure for the time being. And it's nice to know that his family are happy for him and they are backing him fully as well. And I suppose, as the manager of our football club, we should back him to get results as well, which I suppose we do. We're just very critical of how he goes about everything. We never want Steve Evans to lose on purpose. We want this team to win all the time. It's just that his methods are very open to criticism, because he is a very open person to the media in terms of his flamboyancy, his criticism of other people, and now we've seen with his emotion. So yeah, I sort of appreciated the emotion behind it, but in the sense of it showed how much pressure he's under, and he's not in his own will, that he's not going to, face the chopping axe if he gets poor results, or he's not going to get criticised, and understand that he has been criticised, not just from us as a podcast, but also as fans, and probably by Tony Stewart in some sense as well. So it's shown a more human side of being a football manager, even if it doesn't quite fit the tone of beating Cambridge after the performance we put in.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything to that, mate?
Yeah, well, all I would say is I don't necessarily agree with either of you. Okay. But that's opinion, isn't it? If you want me to believe this Billy Big Balls persona that you put out there, don't expect me to believe that, because I'm not buying it. I am not buying it. That's my view.
Fair enough. Few people are with you. David Lawton says cringeworthy. Steve Evans' interview, he says standard. Caleb Bob says that Steve Evans is a past master of deflecting blame. He can't make up his mind whether it's Steve Evans, the football manager, or plain old Steve Evans. No, don't know. Sean McWilliams, Mick. Nobody really comes out of this game with any credit, to be fair. Maybe one or two players. Cam Dawson. McWilliams' second start, I think it is, second or third start. I don't remember him touching the ball. I honestly can't remember him touching the ball. And I don't want to be the guy digging players out, but I don't know what he's bringing to the club at the minute and to the players. Nick says he's not good enough for me. He might be good enough if I knew what he did. I don't know what he does in that midfield. When Teehee's there, I always see Teehee. He's always doing something. It might be rubbish, but Teehee's always doing something. McWilliams isn't even doing any. I can't see what he does.
I mean, how can he do a ball sailing over his head 50%, 50, 60, 70% of the time? You know,
everybody else makes an impact.
Yeah, I've not seen enough of him in either on the ball or challenging for the ball, because he's never where the ball is, because, like I say, it just goes sailing over the top of him. So I understand, and I know what you're saying, and I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. But yeah, I'm not going to call him out, because we don't bother with midfield most of the time. You know, the only time we bother with midfield is when opposition try and play through it. Rest of the time we just boot ball over the top of it. So I'm not sure. I don't think he's. I think probably you're probably right. I think he's probably not up to scratch. But at the moment, anyway, I know I see what Nick's put there in the comments about Evans bringing him in as a future project. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. You know, I don't know how old the lad is, but we don't see enough of him. We just do not see enough of him. No. So I'm not going to comment really on whether or not I think he's up to it.
No,
I'm not convinced about. If you want, and people probably call me out for this, I'm not seeing any of the Ben Pringles in Joe Powell.
No, I don't think he had a great game on Tuesday.
I think his set piece delivery is average.
I don't think it's average. I don't think it's average at all.
His corners are not beating the first man. Rarely, I've not seen. I can't think. I'm sure he has at some point, but I can't bring one to mind.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it. I know some of the people have a different opinion, but for me, but again, he's in that midfield area where he's not really getting time on the ball. No. You know, and I think that's one of the issues with this. That from an organisational point of view, players are having to go looking for the ball. You know, there were a couple of times the other night, again, Joe Rafferty. I have no idea where on the pitch he were, but I know what he weren't, which is where ball were in right back position. You know, and I think it's because he's off looking for the ball somewhere else or whatever. I don't know. But this long ball thing is causing all sorts of problems from players, I think, who are used to being on the ball. Not getting any of it.
No, I mean, Kelp says I thought Powell was best player.
Yeah,
I thought it was fine, but his set pieces are a problem, quite a big problem as well, to be honest, because we're just not beating first man. And the one that they obviously hit the post in the first half from the header from the Cambridge player. By rights, that shouldn't have beat first man either. There's an issue with our set pieces at the minute. Well, I mean, it's the same as what it was last year, isn't it? The set piece situation hasn't changed. From Ollie Rathbone taking free kicks and corners from last season, it's exactly the same. But yeah, let's talk about the transfer. It's not story, I suppose, but the conversation, the comments that have been published by Paul Davis today. Steve Evans saying that he thinks there will be movement, as the expect. There'll be movement in January, suggesting that players who he signed in the summer will be gone in January. If anybody's shocked by that, I need you to tell me why he's shocked by that. Because we had this conversation probably in May when he signed all these players, that not all of these players will be here in January because he will farm them out much like he did 10 years ago, 12 years ago now. Danny, I know you've got opinions on this, but it's not surprising, is it?
No, I mean, it's not surprising in terms of how Steve Evans operates. It's surprising in the sense of the contract lengths that he's given out to these players, because we all thought that 2-year contracts are a little bit short term, especially for someone like McWilliams, who he signed as like someone to work on as a project player. And now it appears he may be one of the players that moves on in January. So it's like, well, what's the point in giving him a 2-year contract, because you're effectively taking 6 months off him and then only a year. And if he's not good enough after that 6-month period, then it's another 6 months or a year, and then he's out of contract. So it just doesn't make sense with how Rotherham United want to operate, which is, as close to financial sustainability as possible. So for me, it just doesn't add up, and it doesn't add up that it's being facilitated, because surely if Evans is playing up to what he wants to do, like you mentioned in the summer, like challenging for promotion, which is still yet to be proven, in my opinion, you need to be signing players who will be not just crucial players for the starting 11, but very important players to have, not just depth-wise, but rotation-wise. If there's injuries, we didn't really replace Rathbone. We've got Kelly in, but he's injured. So it's like, well, where's the backup to Kelly? It's definitely not McWilliams, because he's a development player. So it just seems very odd that he's already talking about some players that he signed moving on. So it's just like, well, what's the point in signing them and wanting them on 2-year contracts if you're going to ship them out straight away? Because it defeats the whole point of a 2-year contract. Surely it should be a 3-year contract. Because then you've got that extra year of a cushion if the player improves, or you can sell them on. Whereas if he comes back and he's no better than he was before after going on loan to, potentially back to Northampton or wherever, then it's like you've got a year left. What do you do then? Do you cash in and, make minimal profit? Do you play him at first team and hope he's improved? Like, it just doesn't make sense in a sustainable project. But then again, we said at the start of the season, Evans isn't the manager for sustainability. He's the manager to get results quickly, but he's not achieved that yet. So it's like, it just made my brain hurt when he said that.
I would say there's 2 points. First of all, I don't think Steve Evans knew how good a lot of these players were. I think he signed, my guess would be that he signed some of these players without watching them play. That's how it happened. That's how it seemed to happen first time around. And played players who he thought were good players tonight. They weren't very good players, and a couple of, that was how it worked last time. Having said that, with Steve Evans, I think what you need to do is we all know automatics is a long, long way away. So for me now, the situation is get to January still in touch of ideally the playoffs. You then try and strengthen in January, get rid of players that he decided he didn't like, bring in players he thinks he does like a bit more, and then we build from there. As the season went on, both times last time, we got better. We gradually got better as season one, because he was able to bring in better the players that he has either played against or seen play during as the season's gone through.
My counter to that is that football works differently to when he did that last time. Like we had this conversation earlier, the loan market worked differently the first time around. It feels like he's still treating it like it's 2013, but it's not. You can only loan players out in the 2 windows and not progressively over the season. So it doesn't make sense in the current mould of football.
But it worked at Stevenage. I know, again, at a lower level, but it worked at Stevenage. It worked in their first season. He got promoted. So it did. Again, it does work it clearly does work to an extent.
Yeah, but Stevenage's objectives weren't as high value.
Well, they were in League Two.
Well, yeah, in League Two, but ours to get back to the Championship, which one could argue is more of a progressional thing rather than getting results quickly, because we've seen from a lot of clubs they try and do results quickly and it falls on its arse straight away.
Yeah, but we're getting promoted from League Two is the same as getting other one less space. It's the same idea, which he's trying to do. Stevenage's window last January probably wasn't as good because he knew he was probably going to be coming to Rotherham United in a couple of months' time. So I wonder if that impacted his signings last January for Stevenage, why they dropped off a little bit. That's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but we'll leave that there. Anything else you want to add on the Cambridge game that's worth mentioning?
No, not really.
No, I don't think so.
Try and forget about it. We've won. We've got the 3 points. Let's call it a day, shall we?
Yes.
Try and draw under it and move on and hope that you can do the same on Saturday.
Yeah, draw land of the game. So I'll give you some stats. So since we last won, we had scored just 20 goals in those 40 games. We've conceded 91 goals in those 40 games, picking up just 13 draws in that time as well, which I was surprised how many draws there were in that 13 games, to be honest with you.
We were horrific last season, weren't we? Goodness me.
Yeah, we were horrific, but it's over. It is over. We don't have to talk about the 8th of November 2022 ever again. Don't have to keep mentioning it, which is good. We do have another record to try and break, which is we haven't won back-to-back games since earlier than that. I think October 2022 was the last time. That was when we beat Stoke, Huddersfield, and then Stoke, if you remember those 2 back-to-back games, when very early days in Matt Taylor's reign. So that was when it last was. First time we've met Reading in the second tier since 2001. In the third tier, this is. I've written second tier. I should say third tier. We're in the third tier now. That was a 2-0 loss at the Majeski in 2001. We only have one win in the last 10 games against Reading, which was the 4-0 victory in the Championship under Paul Warne before he vacated the seat a couple of weeks later. They are back-to-back, or they are on the back of back-to-back wins, Mick. We know we did a scout report. Scout report will be out tomorrow. I spoke to Elm Park Royals. Give us a bit of information about their current situation. But one thing he did say, Mick, and this is the least surprising thing I've heard all season, the troubles that they've gone through, it's brought the fans and the players and the coach together. There's a real togetherness between the whole unit there. And that can make teams really, really tough to play against. If they're all in it together, that's a tough unit. Yeah,
it is. And I don't think we are at the moment. I looked at that bench a few times, and Ben pointed this out to me, and a couple of people at work completely separately also pointed it out to me, that the bench on Tuesday night at Coventry, that's a few seasons ago, isn't it? At Cambridge, they did not look. They looked anything but together. There were some glum, miserable faces on there with very little interaction between any of them. So I'm not convinced that we are in that mould. And yeah, it does make a team very difficult to beat. But they are low on quality, aren't they? You know, and that's they are sort of because of the situation that they find themselves in. So we're not low on quality, but we're not great in the togetherness stake. So it's looking like a high scoring draw, isn't it? On that basis, it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough match, but it's one that, again, another one of those. It's a home game, so therefore it has to be one that we're targeting for 3 points. Has to be. You know, you've got to win your home games and pick up whatever you can away. We've done that away this week, so we've now got to back it up. But I tell you now, I guarantee you one thing for certain. If the performance from Rotherham United is the same on Saturday as it was on Tuesday, we will walk out of New York Stadium with no points in the pocket. So, you know, it has to improve.
Absolutely. If Cambridge had a little bit more quality, and I mean a tiny bit more quality, we'd have lost that game. Then number 9 should have got a couple. But this game's big now, Dan. If we'd have drawn or lost against Cambridge, this would have been a big game to try and turn it around. This now becomes a big game because you've got to try and build on what was given to us, essentially, what Sam Numby managed to take for us. If we lose this game, it feels like we're kind of back to square. If we lose and we play badly, very badly, like we did against Cambridge, I feel like we're back to square one. If we can manage to grind out a win here, you've got 6 points, you're back in top half at table probably by at that point, and then that's a building. That is a proper building block to go on. For me, this is it's the biggest game of the season so far. It's 10 games in, but it's the biggest game of the 10 so far for me.
It's certainly up there, yeah. I mean, if we play like we did against Cambridge, against Reading, we will lose the game. Like we did against Birmingham, with Reading not really getting out of third gear. I mean, Birmingham didn't really get out of first gear, but anyway. But yeah, the way Reading play, the last starting 11 was a 4-3-3 according to FootMob. So that to me says that the battle will be in the middle and final third in terms of the turnover of possession. If we play like we did against Cambridge, Reading will have the vast majority of the ball. So it is a game where we will have to step up and use the momentum of actually getting 3 points to our advantage. Like, we've got 3 points on the road, first time in nearly 2 years we've done that. Home advantage now. So hopefully that spurs not just the team on, but also Steve Evans in making the correct formation decision, but also the fans to get behind the team, because I reckon if we'd have drawn or lost against Cambridge, Saturday would be very toxic from our fans, because, you know, the performance wasn't good enough, but the points haul was against Cambridge, if that makes sense. So we need to use that going into the Reading game, and I really hope that we do. I hope it's a catalyst for us to kick on. But then I said the same about Huddersfield, and that sort of fell flat on its face again as well. So, yeah, it is a chance to upset a team that is one of the more informed teams in the division. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they'll be certainly up there in terms of winning 2 of the last 2. They had a slight battering against Bolton, but, you know, they've beaten Huddersfield, beaten Burton. You know, they've beaten Huddersfield with 11 players. We didn't. So it's a chance for us to prove ourselves. It's a chance for us to prove ourselves that we can go toe-to-toe with anybody in this position and hopefully actually improve our performance. But if we are as disjointed as we were against Cambridge, Reading will have a very easy day at the office on Saturday.
Yeah, they're an organised team. They're going to be very organised. I like Sellers. Ruben Sellers is a decent enough manager. Shown himself to be a decent enough manager, and clearly shown he's got a bit of metal about him. He stuck that situation out. He could very easily have gone to another job by now, that manager. He's stuck out there for 2 years, whatever it's been. He deserves a lot of credit, and hopefully they get to take off a sword. I want to talk about the singing section that after the support and Nick has been trying to get going. We'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to let you all know to get your booing voices ready for Saturday. Lewis Wing is playing for Reading, and I think he's captain. Again, you'll hear from Alex on the scouting report. He's very much the heartbeat of their team. He's very much the leader of the Reading team at the minute. For League One, we all know Lewis Wing. For League One, he's a good player, and he's a dangerous player. So anything good that they do is going to probably come through Lewis Wing. So again, get your booing voices ready. Come on, get them ready. Mick, this is something that I can't remember. I haven't got Nick's surname to hand, so apologies, Nick. But he's started a petition to get a singing section or a safe standing section together to try and build a bit of an atmosphere back at New York Stadium. Obviously, singing section. Safe standing is in at the away end. We don't know if it affects that because obviously it's brand new. Thoughts on, say this has been brought up to the club a number of times, and the club have kind of knocked it back, so it's not something they're looking at doing. Do you think it's something they do need to do?
I'm old. You know, we had one at Millmore. It was called Tivoli. You know, we've got one. The North Stand here is taken over from the Tivoli, if you like, and when we're playing well, and when we're being entertained or being given some hope, the atmosphere within the ground is fantastic. It really is. From all sort of 3 sides of the home side, all 3 home sides. Sorry. I'm perhaps the wrong person to ask. I'm a bit sort of meh about it. You know, I personally don't really have an opinion about it. You know, the North Stand, the top end of any ground tends to be where the people who spring and get the atmosphere going congregate. That's how it always has been traditionally in football. But you've got to be. It doesn't matter ultimately whether you have a singing section, an ultras section like some clubs like Palace have and the like. You know, if you're being served up the dire garbage that we've been served up, the atmosphere is just not going to be there. People can't sort of. You can't just muster it out of thin air. So I'm not 100% convinced. Listen, if it works, I'm all behind it, you know, to try and maintain an atmosphere even when things are bad. But if things continue on the pitch the way they are, I don't think the atmosphere will improve. If we start to win games and start to perform much better, the atmosphere will improve organically, if you like, if that's the right term. It just will.
The thing is, Huddersfield, didn't it? Last 20 minutes, Huddersfield atmosphere was decent because the team won the front foot. And
yeah, and all three sides of the ground are then behind the team, and
Yeah.
that makes for an atmosphere. I don't know whether a sort of singing section or whatever would benefit. I don't know. But if people think it would, then get on with it. Anything at all that's going to try and sort of lift the team in when they're in the doldrums, if you like, which is where they are at the moment.
Yeah, the only thing I would suggest, and this might not be right, the club are not going to bring in safe standing because it's going to cost them money, so they're not going to do that. They've only done it in the end because they've been forced to do it. So I don't think the club are going to. All I would say is, if you want to be part of a group that they're going to sing all game, try and create a group and try and arrange it so you get seats together. Change your season tickets so you can all sit together. Start something a little bit formal, like a supporters group. That's not the supporters group, because I know we've got an official one. That's all I could. I think it's a good idea, a good, well intentioned, but I don't think the club will respond. For me, understandably, the club don't want to spend money where they don't have to, which is understandable. And I think creating this, because if you do safe standing, you've still got a set seat. You can't just go sit. You still can't go sit wherever you want, can you? It's still set seating. But that will be.
I was just thinking that I said what I've just said there, and I know for a fact at some stage in this podcast before I've said it's up to us to get behind players and lift them as supporters.
Yes.
So maybe I'm just talking to occasion. I don't know, but yeah, it's a bit hypocritical that way. And I apologise if anybody's picked up on that. But we need something. We need something, and that's we're 2 years into this now.
Well, you see other. I'm not saying you look at other clubs abroad who do it. The ultras. I'm not saying let's start a Rotherham Ultras. I'm definitely not saying that. But I like the idea of those where you were kind of organising fans to do kind of jobs on match day to start things, to do certain things. I like the idea of that. So I think that would be a better way of doing it than trying to convince the club to spend some money, because I don't think they're going to do it. Danny, anything to add on that?
I think we're in a very unfortunate position in terms of getting fans together to organise this sort of thing, where we're in the age where not many people actually talk to and interact with each other as much anymore. We're quite a small club that's only, in terms of football itself, only recently moved into a new stadium, and because it's been so up and down at that stadium, it's been very hard to get any sort of middle ground going where we can actually build that sort of singing section, that quote unquote ultras bit going. I mean, Crystal Palace have been at Selhurst Park since the 1920s. Some teams have been at stadiums even past 100 years. We've been at New York Stadium for 12 years. So these things do evolve over time, and they tend to evolve when they get to that set middle ground of consistency. And in terms of the Football League, we've not had any consistency since we've gone to New York Stadium, because it's either been promotion or relegation in 7 out of 10 seasons. So I do understand where it's coming from, and I wish more power to the person who's organised it, because I really hope we do get that sort of section going, because it feels like we're the only club that doesn't have that devoted, loyal section that gets it going. But I think it's just a victim of our own success and failures as to why it's not happened yet. Because I seem to remember in 2022, New York Stadium was rocking the whole time we were playing there. There were very few games where it were very flat. I seem to remember the MK Dons game where they came from behind a man down. That's one of the few times it was silent, because we were all shocked. But I agree with Mick. The team needs to give us something to really dig our heels in and go, yes, we are going to make some noise at that. And the Huddersfield game is the perfect example of that, because we felt the tide of the game turn in our favour, and we all got underneath the team, and it was one of the best atmospheres I've had at New York Stadium in the past 3 seasons, though. So I really hope it does pay off. I think it'll pay off more with safe standing, but like you've highlighted, the club won't pay for it in the North Stand unless they're forced to. And I think it'll take a lot more cooperation between fans to, shuffle some season tickets about, have that section devoted for this amount. If you don't want to be part of that, then you shuffle off elsewhere. So it comes across as being a big job, but I hope it's a big job that we can accomplish. But I will say it will take a fair amount of time. But I wish, is it Nick who's organised it? Sorry, Matt.
It is, yeah.
I wish Nick all the power in the world in getting it sorted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just saying organising. If you've got a match to do it yourself rather than get something from the club potentially, because the other fish to fry potentially. Let's go on and do some predictions. Updating the prediction league. Not much change, but Ben has his first point of the season. Tom and Joy. Joy, Kev, Tom added points to their total as well. So well done to everybody who has done that. Got some points. Mick and Danny, you failed to add any points to your total. You've been marginally clawed back in, which is pretty marginal. We have predictions so far. Kev goes 3-0 as he does. Joy's gone 2-1 to us, as has Tom. Ben is being the negative Nelly today. He has gone 1-0 to Reading. He's looking for points, I think, is Ben. Danny, you need to catch Mick 2 points behind Mick. If you get the score prediction correct, you'll overtake him. What are you saying?
Oh, Christ. I am here. I reckon 1-1, I think.
1-1. The only draw so far, Mick. What are you going to do? Was your positivity lying? Is it your Boyd from Tuesday?
No, I'm gonna go 2-1. I think we're gonna sneak it.
Us?
Yeah, I think Evans is gonna get that 7 out of the 9 points where we said we wanted to be. I think it's 2-1. 2-1 us.
Okay, we've got 3 of you have gone 2-1. You joined Tom, we've all gone 3-1.
Yeah.
There we go. Terry Fleming says 2-2. Martin Holland says 1-1. Kelly Wilson says 2-0. Tom K says 2-1 to us. Richard says 1-0 to us. And Kelly Phil says 2-0. Chris Wright says 2-1. Miller's get off Steve's back. Matt Miller says 1-1. Nick says 2-1 to the Millers. Harry says 0-2. A snap back to reality, as Eminem said. John Mann's 4-3. I think a 4-3. Bit of an entertaining game. I'll take that. Scott Kent says 2-1 to Reading. You can't see us backing it up. Powermad says 0-2 to Reading, but he's not a professional. John says 1-1 Reading, the best side that Birmingham have played this season.
What? Better than us? Come on, John.
No, not better than us. No, definitely not. Shelley said, I wanted to kick on now, but it's nailed, and after performance, we'll probably lose it. We were so Rotherham United. It'd be quite Rotherham United to play really well and lose, is what we're quite Rotherham United to do. Damien Cole says 2-0 for the Millers. There we go. Anything else we need to mention?
I just think, I don't know whether you're aware, there's some awards coming up in November. Football Content Award. It's a national award, I understand. And there's a couple of podcasts from South Yorkshire being nominated in the top 10, and we're one of them. So, and I think, as you pointed out on X, Matt, it's the only place this season that you'll be able to see Rotherham United versus Sheffield Wednesday. So let's hope that we can get more. If nothing else, let's get more votes than them. So if you know any Sheffield United supporters, follow that link. Put that link on.
Do so. I'm just going to get the link for everybody. Apparently, I've not voted on this desktop, so I've just voted again. New York Talk. There it is in the comments. Good End Football Club content creating the Football League. Vote for New York Talk. Yes, we can beat Sheffield Wednesday. I love the guys from Wednesday week, from Ash and Dan who are over there, but I still want to beat them. We'll probably see. Well, I think we'll see certainly some of them down there when we go in a couple of weeks' time. Ref watch Matt Miller. That is Scott Oldham is the referee for Saturday. He refereed the cup game against Crewe this season. Didn't have a very good game. It was, from what I remember, it was quite a poor. It just didn't let the game flow at all.
It's very early in the season, weren't it?
Yeah. So it's first home game, first cup game, obviously, second game of the season. So if it's the same again, it'll be very, very stop-start. So get ready for that. Harry says, yeah, Millmore's open tomorrow, which is interesting. From tomorrow, you can go down to nowhere. They couldn't have picked a more inconvenient time, to be honest with you, for everybody who works or has a school run or anything like that. But if you are free tomorrow, 2 o'clock, you can go down to Millmore. I think there's supposed to be some former players there as well, which will be quite nice to go through. I don't know what the word is there, to be honest with you. But anyway.
And of course, that's going to work at 3. That's fun.
Yeah. It would have been nice had they opened. I know this is, it would have been nice had they opened it Saturday morning or Saturday lunchtime. So people could have gone
imagine if it were open 11 while 2. That would have been perfect.
Yeah. Exactly. But anyway, it's the Booths. They could probably think of a way to open it and charge people. Because away fans are big who probably won't have a Rotherham, wouldn't they? As well, they could probably make a bit of money from that. So you want ideas? We'll let you have that one. Thank you all for being with us. Shelley's saying in the comments, does that guy who was a Sheffield United fan called Hal live in Cyprus? Never told us. That's from the White Rose Rivals show, which was on 6 o'clock tonight. If you haven't watched that, it is quite fun to watch that. Where there's a guy from Huddersfield called Cossie, who for the last 2 weeks has been streaming from a bar in Benidorm.
Right for some minute.
He's phoned him before from a McDonald's in Dortmund and a McDonald's in somewhere else in Spain as well. He goes all over Europe watching football, so it is really, really good fun, that show. So if you don't watch it, do check it out next week. Go back and watch the 6 o'clock episode from this week.
Is it the White Rose version of Thogden?
Yeah, maybe, but he's really, really nice. You spoke to Cossie for the Scouting Report, didn't you?
Oh, yes, I did. He's a sound bloke, to be fair.
He were at cricket, I think, when he spoke to you, wasn't he?
Was that, sorry?
He were at cricket when he spoke to you for our Scouting Report.
I did, yes. Yes, he's much better than Thogden. I retract my statement.
Yeah. He's a good egg. I know all those lads on there are really good eggs. They're all really happy for us winning, even though they're our rivals. They're really happy that Rotherham won. Joe was saying, Joe, the Leeds fan, does us watch along. He was saying, as they were doing the Leeds watch along, there were loads of comments saying, "Oh, Rotherham have won." Matt will be buzzing from New York Talk. So we're bringing some over from the dark side, I think, from Leeds and Wednesday to be Rotherham supporters. So our work is almost complete. Like I said, please make sure you have subscribed if you haven't already. Please make sure you vote. You've only got another week or so for us to keep annoying you about the voting. Please make sure you have done so if you haven't done so already. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or wherever the case may be, make sure you have, again, subscribed or followed or give us a 5-star rating. Instant Reaction will be back this week. Obviously, we've got the game at home, so it'll be Instant Reaction Saturday evening, which could be very, very happy, very, very sad, very, very angry. We'll wait and see what happens. We will go from there. Mick, thank you for being with us. You're very, very negative. Stop hating on Steve Evans. It's unacceptable.
Okay.
Good. Thank you very much. And Danny, no real issues tonight. We can't see you, but there's no real issues tonight with your internet. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. I've discovered that everybody likes when I plug my laptop into charge. That's fun.
Did you delay answering on purpose there, Danny, or was that your internet? I thought. No, he was on.
No, it's because my laptop's on charge. Legit.
Fair enough. Tom Case, sympathy from our rivals. We've been that bad. Yes, exactly. Thank you all for being with us. Rotherham have won an away game. Just remember that we can forget about it from now. This is the last time we had to talk about it. I hope everybody is happy with that. We will see you all next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
I think I always made the comment that once a Miller, always a Miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good Evans, he's done it again. Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favor, drop me off.